Good morning. Many of you are aware that my favorite book in the New Testament is the book of Ephesians. And perhaps one of the most important verses in the book of Ephesians is in the second chapter, verse 10. God created us to do good works. Another translation would read it this way: God created us to make a positive contribution to the lives of other people. And then that verse continues by saying, God intends for us to live our lives in this way, to live our lives doing good works or making a positive contribution to other people. Let me come back to that passage in just a moment. I want to share with you that when my family was very young and my son was 6 years old, we made a vacation trip to the Highlands of North Carolina. And while we were there in the Highlands, we went into a toy store, and my son's eyes fell upon a particular toy, and he began to plead with Mom and Dad. I love this toy. I want this toy. If you buy this toy for me, I promise I will never want anything else ever, ever, ever again. Well, he's 6 years old, and we knew that was absolutely not true, but he so was in love with that toy, we purchased it for him. And to his credit, he played with that toy until he wore it out. I'm not picking on my son, because I'm the same way, and I bet you are too. We want something. With all of our heart, we want something, and we pursue it, and then once we've had it, we may enjoy it for a while, and then we discover, well, we want something else now. Something else that maybe will bring us happiness. That was true for me 13 years ago. Nikon released a new semi-professional camera called the Nikon D700, and I wanted that camera so much, except the price tag was $2,500, and I was not about to spend $2,500 on a camera for me. I was not a professional photographer. I was a pastor. I didn't need a $2,500 camera, except I continued to look at it on my computer screen, thinking I would love to have that camera. It would make me so happy. Then I approached the 20th anniversary of my ordination. And one Sunday, after the worship service had concluded, before I could give my benediction, someone in the congregation stood up and said, Pastor, before you offer your benediction, we have a surprise for you. The church wants to honor the 20th anniversary of your ordination with a gift. And they presented me with a Nikon D700. They purchased for me a $2,500 camera. Well, naturally, I was delighted. I said thank you to the congregation. I went home, and for months I played with that camera and enjoyed it immensely. But then I came to the conclusion that to really enjoy this camera, I needed a professional lens, specifically the Nikon 70-200 2.4 lens. I shared that with my wife, and she said, Doug, if you really want that lens, I will buy it for you. You need to understand that this lens cost as much as the camera, but she bought it for me. She wanted me to be happy, and now I had $5,000 worth of professional Nikon equipment. I enjoyed it for several months naturally, and then I came to the conclusion that I wanted to do portraiture photography, and well, the best lens for that was the Nikon 70-55 2.8 lens. I shared that with my wife, and she said, if you really want it, we can afford it. Go ahead and buy it. And I did. And you can see where this is going. I always wanted something more. Now all of my Nikon equipment belongs to my daughter, who is a professional photographer. I want to share with you that some years ago I read the work of a psychologist who wrote that if we are always seeking happiness, if we are always pursuing happiness, happiness will remain elusive. We will never be able to grasp happiness. But if we make a positive contribution to other people, if we serve other people, happiness finds us. That is what Apostle Paul is saying in the book of Ephesians. We were created not to seek happiness, but to serve other people, to do good works. According to our natural gifts and our abilities, we are to make a positive contribution to the lives of other people, and as we do so, happiness binds us. I conclude this morning by sharing with you a story from Harry Emerson Fosdick, a preacher of another generation. He shares that a preacher that he knew loved sharing Jesus Christ with other people. His whole ministry was marked by a single passion, and that is to make Christ known to as many people as he could. Restaurants and bars and coffee houses and family nursing homes, to develop a relationship with the people there so that in the context of those relationships he could share Jesus Christ. His one passion was to make Christ known so that people would confess Christ as Lord, as their personal Savior. Well, naturally, as we all do, as he came to the end of his life, he became ill and he was confined to his home. And his children hired a nurse to move into the home and to care for his needs. For several months, this woman cared for this pastor. Then he died. At his funeral, the nurse was invited to the funeral, and the children were expressing their gratitude to the nurse for the loving, attentive care that she had provided for their father in the last months of his life. And she said to the children, I am also blessed and grateful for the opportunity that you gave me to know this man, to love this man, and to care for this man in the last months of his life. I am so grateful to have known your father, and I am confident right now that your father is in hell. Well, this startled the family naturally. Did they hear her correctly? She then continued, yes, he is in hell now, because that is the only place where he could be happy. There is so much work to be done there. Friends, that is exactly what the Apostle Paul is saying in the book of Ephesians. God created us to make a positive contribution to others. And as we do, that when happiness finds us.